On this episode of Arts Weekly, I'll be speaking with Karen Gibbons-Brown from the Fort Wayne Ballet.
And this is one of those ballets that is down to earth. The girl, the heroine, is actually a real girl as opposed to a sill for a fairy or something else.
And Sue Davis from the Orchard Gallery of Fine Art.
The gallery is owned by local area artists, and we take turns working there and have our work there for sale. And all the work is original.
This is Arts Weekly.
Arts Weekly is a production of the College of Visual and Performing Arts at IPFW, offering degrees in fine arts, music, theater, and visual communication and design. IPFW, the energy of arts.
Hello, I'm Chuck O'Connor, and this is Arts Weekly. Joining me is Karen Gibbons-Brown, Executive Artistic Director of the Fort Wayne Ballet. Karen is here to talk about their upcoming production of Coppelia. Karen, good to have you on.
Thanks so much for having me.
So you've been quite busy today this year, as you always are. And on March 18th, I believe, you're going to be opening Coppelia. Tell us a little bit about this ballet.
Coppelia is one of those charming ballets that is the end of our Romantic era, ushering in the Classical era. It ends very happily, which is a little bit different from the typical Romantic ballet of its time. And it's one of the most loved ballets. It's second only to Nutcracker in the United States. Same story writer, E.T.A. Hoffman, wrote the same author, wrote both the stories, Nutcracker and Coppelia. But it's about a doll that Dr. Coppelius, the toy maker, is trying to bring to life. And in one part of the ballet, he believes that his magic and his spells and his hard work and love and passion have made that so, only to find that it isn't. But it all ends happily, of course.
Well, you know, what is it? This play, ballet, was composed by Delibes, right?
Delibes,
the French
yes.
composer in, what, the late 1800s, correct?
Yes. It was in 1870 that it was premiered. And interestingly enough, Delibes also has written Sylvia, the ballet Sylvia. And that had gained huge popularity. And his hope was that he could write a ballet that would come as close to that popularity. Interestingly enough, in this day and time, Coppelia is the most known and most loved.
Right, and it's beautiful music. But, you know, the thing I was wondering is, what is it about the 19th century when they were so obsessed with you know, inventing humans? You had Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, and of course this is like another version of that, except it goes in a different direction. I mean, obviously Frankenstein went out of control, but you know, they kind of had this theme going on back then of, you know, what if I can invent a human being or a puppet that looks real?
Right. You know, I don't know, although that's an interesting question. I do know that in that time they seemed to be a little bit obsessed with the supernatural or the ethereal, the real life versus what might be out there. And this is one of those ballets that is down to earth. The girl, the heroine, is actually a real girl as opposed to a sill for a fairy or something else.
She becomes a real girl.
Yes, she is a real girl. And the toys are all life-size, and they are all automatons except for the one that he really wants to be. He's created in a human image and wants her to become human.
Well, like all really, really good stories, things get complicated, don't they?
Yes, they get a little complicated and twisted. It's a triangle, but not quite the one you would perceive. It's a love triangle. Swanhilde and Franz are boyfriend and girlfriend, but Franz falls in love with Coppelia. Unbeknownst to the village, it's really a doll instead of a girl. So Swanhilde decides she's going to meet her competition. Franz decides he's going to introduce himself to this lovely girl, and then it runs amok with Dr. Coppelius breaking into the whole scene. Of course, it's his house. He has the right to break into it, but we know it as a comedy ballet. So the dancer that does the lead role, Swanhilde, must be a comedian, as well as what we know as a soubrette dancer, similar to opera, lively, flirtatious, a bit on the edge, so to speak. And Franz, of course, just goes along for the ride quite often in the ballet.
Yeah, you know, you mentioned opera. This story was actually made into an opera as well. Tales of Hoffmann features it as one of the stories in it by A.T.A. Hoffmann, about A.T.A. Hoffmann, who was the writer of Coppelia. So,
right.
you know, there's a connection there. But who plays Swanhilda?
For us,
For you.
For
Yeah.
us, our Swanhilda, we share the role with two young ladies. One is Lucia Rogers, whom our audiences know as our ballerina, who has done most recently Sugar Plum Fairy. And then our other young dancer is Laura Schlatter, who is an up-and-coming young lady that we've trained, and she'll be our other Swanhilda.
Wow.
Our Franz will be danced by Sam Shapiro, who trained with the Royal Ballet in England and danced with Boston Ballet, and will be joining us for this production.
Oh boy, that sounds like a really, really good lineup. What is the style of dance? You know, you mentioned that it's a comedy, but there's also some folk elements, because it's kind of a folk tale. Is that true?
It happens in a small peasant village, yes, but this is known as the first ballet to present character work. So in Act 1, you have a mazurka and a chardash, and then the dolls, of course, do country dances in a very automaton-like style, but they do Chinese, they do a Spanish dance, the soldiers, an astronomer. I'm leaving some dolls out, Dutch dolls. So there is a lot of character element in this ballet as well, which was the first ballet to present that.
See, I think it would be fun just for that reason, you know, to see what a mazurka is, which I'm not really sure what that is, but I think it's a Polish dance or something. But there's other, correct me if I'm
No,
wrong.
you're fine. You're doing quite well.
Wow, that surprises me actually. But to see all those different styles and that folk dance worked into ballet, that must really, really have a strong influence on the whole look of the production, the costumes and the sets as well, I imagine.
Most certainly the costumes, and the dancers have to train in that style as well. It's not something that they just learn in a typical ballet class. We're very fortunate to have a woman from Moscow, Russia, that teaches our character work within our academy and to our company. So it's pretty authentic.
Mm-hmm. Now, didn't Balanchine actually bring this play, I keep saying play because I'm a
It's
theater
okay.
person, but this ballet back to life in the 70s, right? I mean, has it always been popular, or is it just getting super popular now, or been super popular for the last 30 or 40 years or so?
Coppelia is one of those ballets that never really went to sleep for a period of time, so to speak. Balanchine just created his own version of the ballet that incorporated all of the music that Delibes had written. Quite commonly, we take out some of the music. And a couple of interesting facts, it was the male lead, Franz, was done by a female at the first performance, and it maintained that through 1950 with the Paris Opera Ballet, and it wasn't until after 1950 that Franz began to be played by a man.
And which version do you do? Do you do the Balanchine, or you do, which one do you do?
We do the old American Ballet Theater version,
Okay.
and that was staged by Alicia Alonso a very long time ago.
All right. Well, you have all sorts of really fun things surrounding the opening of Coppelia. You
Yes.
have an opening night, champagne.
Champagne reception in the gallery after the performance, and that would be March 18th, immediately following the performance. And you know that we're working with the Philharmonic for all of our productions of Coppelia as well, so it should be truly an exciting event.
And that is a big deal.
That is a big deal. In
In
this culture, this climate that we're facing now, there aren't many companies that have that luxury, and we're very fortunate to have that collaboration.
Right. I mean, for our viewers' information, you know, real orchestras playing with ballets, it's becoming more rare all the time for economic purposes. And here we're fortunate enough to have, you know, an outstanding Philharmonic Orchestra working with a fantastic ballet. You don't get to see that in a lot of places, and so that's really great.
Right. It becomes something very different and very, it's an experience as opposed to just the ballet or just music. It really is the full experience of live performance. What could you ask for?
Yeah, please take your kids to that, because you don't know how long that's going to go on. But tell us about
forever.
We hope forever, exactly. But
Right.
it's wonderful. It's a wonderful experience. Tell us about the toy shop party.
If you are familiar with our sugar plum parties after our nutcracker matinees, this is very similar. It's a toy shop party since Dr. Coppelius is a toy maker, and our gallery transforms to a toy shop, and our dolls come to life. Swanhilda and Franz come and meet and greet, and it's an opportunity not just to see the dancers up close and have your picture taken should you choose to do that, but to really talk to them and see the costumes and the dancers up close and personal.
Boy, how fun is that?
It was one of my favorite things as a dancer. It was one of my favorite things to do.
Yeah, and that's going to be on the 18th, it's going to be on the 19th and 20th.
And the
We had that
20th.
information up on the screen just a moment ago for parents who might be thinking about taking their their child to that. What else is coming up at the Fort Wayne Ballet? I know you have a family series ballet called Madeline.
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 We have 2 performances as a part of our family series, and those are performed by our youth company within our school, our academy, Fort Wayne. And last fall they did Carnival of the Animals, and they are doing Madeline, the story, 12 little girls in 2 straight lines. Many of us grew up knowing the adventures of Madeline, and this is a ballet that has been created specifically for our youth company by their director, Joel and Wojtowicz.
And that takes place in the lobby, right?
It takes place in the upstairs gallery.
Upstairs gallery.
And you bring a blanket or a beach towel and sit on the floor. The dancers are very in front of you, very up close. The performance is about 20 to 25 minutes, and afterwards the characters of Madeline take gift bags to each of the attendees.
Oh, that's nice. What age group goes to that sort of thing?
2 and up.
2 and up.
2 and 2
Wow.
at heart forever.
Not a whole lot of things to take your 2-year-old, but that's one of the best. You also have a fundraising event coming up for the ballet. Fundraising is an important part
Yes.
of any organization called the Toast of Downtown. Briefly tell us when that's going to be. I have it down as
April 15th.
The April 15th.
Yes.
How could I forget that day?
Tax day, right?
Yeah.
It is April 15th to celebrate. A
Your
lot of things
refund.
we'll celebrate, right? But it's going to be taking place in the Old Park Place Grill, and it is a fundraiser for our educational programming that we do within our academy in the community as well. And there's a first VIP pressing at 5:30 and a general admission at 7 o'clock. And it's wine tasting that is courtesy of Cap and Court. And it is DeBrand's chocolate. It will be catered by Club Soda.
Can one drink wine and eat chocolate at the same time?
Why, yes, of course.
I'll give it a try.
Why not? Bradley Goff is creating a piece specifically for us for the silent auction.
Oh
so
my gosh.
quite excited about that.
And of course, the other big news here in town is the opening of the new Our Center for Arts and Culture, the new home of
Right.
Arts United. It's also going to be the ballet's new home, right across the street from the Arts United Center.
And right across the street from the old Park Place Grill as well.
Right.
It's a
And,
nice little
and-
triangle there. My understanding from one of our longtime donors and patrons of the ballet is that our home on Penn Avenue was temporary. So 45 plus years later, we're moving into a space right across the street from the theater, the Arts United Center.
Finally a home, and a very nice one. I've been down there. But Karen, that's all the time we have for now. Wish you the best with Coppelia. Looking forward to seeing it. You do wonderful work down there. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you. We'll see you there.
Okay. For more information about the Fort Wayne Ballet and how you can get tickets, visit fortwayneballet.org or call 484-9646. Arts Weekly will return in a moment.